Hi lovelies, welcome back to my channel. My name is Uche. In today's video I'm going to be sharing with you how I made this straight leg palazzo pant. If this sounds like what you're interested in, do wait to watch this video to the end, and don't forget to turn on your post notifications so you get notified whenever I upload new videos. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, like, share and comment, and let's get started. So here is a fabric I made use of. This is a crepe fabric. Okay, if you don't know the name of the fabric, this is called a crepe fabric, and I have about 2 yards of it. So I'm going to start by folding my fabric into two, like so. So my fabric is neatly folded into two. So to know the amount of fabric you're going to be folding, you are going to divide your hip measurement by 4 plus your seam allowance, an extra 4 to 5 inches depending on your body size. So I'm going to start by marking out a line at this top, which will serve as my waistline. Next, I'm going to be placing my tape on my waistline and mark my hip line. So normally when you are making a pant that has a waistband, you are going to minus the inches, you're going to minus the length of the waistband before you mark out your measurement. But I'm making a high waistband, so I won't be doing that. So after marking out my hip line, I'm also going to place my tape on my waistline and also mark my crotch depth. Okay, so to know your crotch depth, divide your hip measurement by 4 and add 1 inch to whatever you get. So after marking out I will connect it across. So here are the lines I have. This is my waistline, here is my hip line, and this is my crotch line. So I'll be taking the length of the pants later. So I'm going to come over to this waistline. I'm going to divide my hip measurement by 4 plus 1 inch for my seam allowance. So after marking it out, I'm also going to bring the same measurement down to the hip line and on the crotch line. My hip measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch for seam allowance. I'm going ahead to mark it on the crotch line and also on the hip line. So after marking it out, I'm going to go ahead to connect the 3 points together. After connecting, this is what I have. So next, I'm going to be taking my actual waist measurement. Okay, so from this line, I'm going to mark out my waist measurement, my actual waist measurement divided by 4. So mine is 7.5. I will also add extra 1 inch for seam allowance, and I will go ahead to connect it to the hip line with my curve ruler. And this is what I have after I was done doing that. So next, I'm going to be marking out my crotch extension. So to know your crotch extension, you're going to divide your hip measurement by 8. Okay, divide your hip measurement by 8, and whatever you get, you're going to mark it after this line. Okay, after the line you're seeing there, you're going to mark it after the line, and mine is 2.5 inches. So I'm going to use my free hand to curve it out. Okay, and this is what we have after I was done doing that. So next, I'm going to be marking out the length of the pants. Okay, that is all for the upper part. So I'm going to arrange my fabric properly so I can mark out the length of the pants. And the length of the pants I'm working with is 43 inches. I'll be adding extra 1 inch for my seam allowance. After marking out the length of my pants, I'm also going to go ahead to connect it across. So that is all for the drafting of the front part. You can see how simple and easy it is. So I'm going to be cutting everything straight like this. Okay, I'm going to cutting everything straight like this. I'm not shaping anything at all because this is a palazzo pant. Okay, so I'm going ahead to cut out. So guys, if you are enjoying this video so far and you haven't subscribed to my channel, kindly do that. Hit on the subscribe button and also like this video. After I'm done cutting out, next I'm going to come to this front part. I'm going to come down by 1 inch. This will enable the front side of the pants to sit perfectly around the waist area. Okay, so after coming down by 1 inch, I'm going to slant it to the side of the pant, as you can see me do, and I'll proceed to cut it out. The next step is to cut out the back piece. I'm going to fold another fabric into 2, and let's work on the back piece. So here is my front piece, I've placed it on another fabric, as you can see. So if you notice, I have some allowances. As you can see, I left some space for the back crotch extension, and also on the upper part I also left some space, like as you can see. So I'm going to go ahead to extend the back waistline. Okay, remember I came down by 1 inch for the front and slanted it to the side. So for the back, I'm going to be going up by 1 inch, and I'll slant it to the side like this. And that is all for that. So I'm going to be marking out the back crotch extension. Okay, so for my back crotch extension, I will also be marking out the same 2.5 inches I marked on the front. Okay, I'll go ahead to extend it like this. Okay, I used 2.5 inches right there, and on the waistline I'm going to be coming out by 1.5 inches. On the hip line, I'll also come out by 1.5 inches, and I'm going to go ahead to curve it to the crotch extension I made for the back, as you can see. So all of this is just to give the belt space to sit. So I'm going to go ahead to adjust my fabric properly. Okay, as you can see, so around this part I'm going to be marking out 1.5 inches. I'll be coming out by 1.5 inches all the way down, and I'll go ahead to connect it all the way down, as you can see me do like this. And that is all for that. So next I'm going to be marking out my zipper allowance. So if you notice, my zipper was at the center back. Okay, so if you want yours to be at the side, you don't need to follow what I'm doing right now. So I want my zipper to fall on the center back, and what I am doing right now is to come out by 1 inch for my zipper allowance. After marking out 1 inch, I'm going to come down by about 10 inches, okay, for the length of the zipper, but I later ended up using just 8 inches. So at that 10 inches point where I came down by, I'm going to also come out by 1 inch and connect the 2 points together. So I'm going to proceed to cut everything out, so watch carefully. So this is what I have after cutting. Okay, and the side remains the same. So I'm going to go ahead to notch the zipper allowance, and then I will separate the two pieces. So for the front, I'll go ahead to join the two front pieces together by 1/2 inch like this. I will go ahead to sew it together, and for the back as well, I'm also going to go ahead to sew. Okay, from this upper part I'm going to use a gather stitch and sew from this upper part up to where my zip will stop, and I will top stitch. Then from here to the end, I'm going to sew with a normal stitch. And this is what I have after I was done joining the two front pieces together. I iron it up properly. As you can see, I iron the seam properly, and this is the back. I also iron the seam, the zipper allowance properly. This is what it looks like. So next I'm going to join the two together, the front and the back. So if you notice, the back is wider. Okay, that's because of the extensions we made around the back piece. Okay, so you're going to drag the two together so they become equal on the sides. You are going to sew the two sides with the seam allowance you added. Okay, I'll do that. And this is what it looks like after I was done joining the sides. I also went ahead to iron out properly. So next I have flipped my fabric to the wrong side, so I'm going to merge this crotch like this together. Make sure they are properly aligned like this. I'm going to sew from one side to the end and from this side to the end by 1/2 inch. So I'll go ahead to do that, and I will show you the next step. So this is what I have after I was done doing that. Next I'm going to be ripping the zipper allowance open so that I can work on the waistband. So go ahead to open up my zipper allowance up to the point where I top stitched. Okay, I will do that. And after I am done opening it up, I'm going to go ahead to use my tape and measure around my waistline. Anything I get around the waistline, I'm going to be using it to cut out my waistband. So after measuring, I'll use it to cut out my waistband. And And here is my waistband. So the length of the waistband is what I measured around the waistline, and I added extra 1 inch to it. So I like having excess than having shortage of fabric. And for the wideness, I have 2.5 inches on fold. Wide open, I have 5 inches. I have 2.5 inches like this, so I'll be using ½ inch to sew it to the waistline, and when I open it up I have 5 inches. Okay, so after sewing it, the waistband is going to fall back to 2 inches. I'm going to go ahead to place it like so around the waistline. I'm going to sew it all round with ½ inch. After sewing it on the down part, I'm going to be folding the down part by ½ inch 2 times. I will sew it round. I will also repeat the same thing here, ½ inch twice, and I'll bring it back. I've joined the waistband. I've also hemmed the down part. So the last step is to attach the zipper. So if you find this video helpful, please do well to subscribe to my channel, drop a comment, like, share, and turn on your post notification. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.